Hello everyone and welcome back to Afrodo Reviews. On this channel I help you decide. Is that book worth reading of a second breakfast? Or does it deserve the fiery pit of Mount Doom? Trudging into the deep dark pits of Mordor, today I talk about what I'm going to read next month. And although it hasn't been technically a tradition just yet, those of you who are familiar with booktube know that it's a very certain time of the year once you reach August, or at least a certain section of YouTube. I don't know if it's a wide-reaching thing, but so for those of you who aren't aware, the month theme of August is Garbaugust, which, as I understand it, is you're supposed to read garbage books during this year. That's right. It's time to read some garbage books this year. This is the time where all the books are purposely bad, as opposed to, picking a book I think is good is going to be bad. These are books I've collected over the years that I've either heard horrible things about, or in my own experience of having tried to read them, I remember them being great, but written either by authors I've read before and I've found out, they do not write good, or famously bad books, or books I do have some prior experience for, but it's been so long. It's sort of like a nostalgic reevaluation, but, bad. So, there's not much I can do to prepare you for this year, but just know that it's time for the bad books. The first book of this month is... Okay, so this one isn't going to be too much of a surprise to a lot of people, because technically I should have reviewed it last year. Because I put out a poll and I asked people what book do they want me to review, because I had a free opening in the month of August that I hadn't chosen a book for. And for the longest time, this book and the book I ended up doing, The Host by Stephanie Meyer, were tied. And so it ultimately came down to me flipping a coin and just deciding, I'll do The Host. However, after I had started reading The Host, I was about 100-something pages in, I checked the poll and realized in that time one final person had voted. And it turned out that the winner was actually marked by PC Cast and Kristen Cast. For those of you who don't know about this book, I'm pretty sure it came out about the time that I was just getting out of high school. But it's basically a story where Mary Sue vampires run the world. That is simply the easiest way to describe it. Now, the reason it's called Marked is based on what I remember. Marked is the way vampires find out who they are. Because vampires aren't, you get bit, blood sucked, and you turn into one. Vampires in this world are a super magical creature that is chosen by a goddess. And the way you know you're a vampire is if the special tattoo appears on your forehead. And that's how you know you're a vampire. It's a young adult book, so I can't question that too much. But one of the I've heard a lot of terrible things about this book, and I know some of the booktubers I do personally follow have either talked about wanting to review this book or have talked about it, but I haven't actually watched any of those channels. I do know Alizi did one, and I think that's about as close as I came, because I think I started watching the start of her Marked book review, but I don't think I actually got through it all the way. I think I started listening to it and then something distracted me, and then I ended up blocking it out the entire time because I can't remember anything about that review. I know James Tullos did it, and I know Crimson Rogue briefly talked about doing it when he was going through all the books that he had for his Masochistic Tango playlist. So, I'm going to be going into this with mostly fresh eyes, other than my own, other than the rumors I've heard. And again, I want to specify for this book and all the books next to me, is that even though I've heard terrible things about this book, I will be going into these books with the intent of trying to see good in them. I want to be surprised by this book. I want to read a good book. I just chose this because they have a reputation, or the way I've looked at the book and it's like, this doesn't look good. I'm trying to remember what it was called. Typhoon Rising, where it had that cheap quality to it, and once I read the back of the book and it had an incomplete sentence on the back, I knew I was in for a trip. But what's this book about? Well, as you can see, I've already somewhat sort of started reading it already, but don't worry, I'm only about 5 pages in. Anyways, so what's this book about, you ask? Well, here you go. Enter the dark, magical world of the House of Night, a world very much like our own, except here, vampires have always existed. 16-year-old Zoe Redbird has just been marked as a fledgling vampire and joins the House of Night, a school where she would train to become an adult vampire. That is, if she makes it through the change, and not all of those who are marked do. It sucks to begin a new life, especially away from her friends, and on top of that, Zoe is no average fledgling, because why would she be? This is a young adult novel. She has been chosen as special by the vampire goddess Nyx. Zoe discovers she has amazing powers, but along with her powers come bloodlust, and an unfortunate ability to imprint her human ex-boyfriend? I'm gonna guess imprint has some kind of verbiage meaning, because if it doesn't, I don't know, that sentence doesn't sound right to me. To add to her stress, she's not the only fledgling at the House of Night with special powers. Well, thank God, otherwise it would be boring. When she discovers that the leader of the Dark Daughters, the school's most elite group, is misusing her goddess-given gifts, Zoe must look deep within herself for the courage to embrace her destiny, and with a little help from her new vampire friends. So one of the funny things about this series, I think that's what makes it so interesting to me, is this is actually PC Cass and Kristen Cass are a mother-daughter duo. PC Cass is an award-winning fantasy and paranormal romance author, as well as an experienced speaker and teacher. And her daughter, Kristen Cass, has won awards for her poetry and journalism. So I kind of want to see what this mother and daughter duo end up writing, but based on what I've heard, it's going to raise more questions than it is answers, to be completely honest with you. So anyways, that would be marked. I'll let you guys know how it goes when you see the review. The next book is... Okay, so I want to tell you this was not originally on my list, but I was walking through the thrift store, and I just paused and walked back. I'm like, I recognize that author name. And I was like, he wrote more than one book? The first book, I understood why he wrote it, because it was clearly meant to be an advertisement to his, special, super secret, awesome doomsday preparations, and, that's how he wanted to sell it. And and he kept just updating that book as the time went on, so I didn't think he wrote anything else, because if you keep going back and updating one of these books, if you keep going back and updating the one book you wrote, it makes me wonder, why? It's one of those things, but apparently no, he has written more than one book. And who I'm talking about is author James Wesley Rawls and his Founders book. Now, for those of you who don't remember when I reviewed James Wesley Rawls, I reviewed his book called The Patriots. And that was a book that felt like it unironically was written by Dale Gribble in King of the Hill, because it's basically a libertarian power fantasy. The day where a lot of libertarians and then salivate about the government collapsing so they can live in their own lands and bump uglies with minors. Okay, so to be honest with you, I don't necessarily think the basic idea of being a libertarian is wrong. Okay, no, I'm lying. I'm going to apologize now. I don't have a lot of respect for the libertarian ideology, mostly because when you boo someone on your own side, saying, hey, maybe we should maybe people should have license to be able to drive 2-ton machinery around the roads and not kill people, and everyone boos him, you aren't exactly a party of stable-minded individuals, in my opinion. But yeah, so when I saw that he wrote another book, and it's a novel of the coming collapse, so it technically would be taking place in the same world as the Patriots. I had to pick it up, and I had to read it for Garbaugust, because what is Garbaugust if I'm not making fun of another libertarian book? So, what is this one about, you ask? Well, probably the same thing the other two are about, but here's the back of the book. It's the near future, and thanks to a perfect storm of reckless banking practices, hyperinflation, and a stock market gone mad, and the negligence of our elected officials, the entire social, political, and economic infrastructure of America has collapsed. Chaos reigns in the streets, medical treatment is no longer available, and a silent coup has placed a dangerous group of men at the helm of a false government. Ooh, so we're going this route with this one. Okay. America's fate is in the hands of those few individuals who have the survival skills, the faith, because, faith is the most important part, and the forethought to return this country to the state its founding fathers intended. Except if you completely misunderstand everything the founding fathers actually wanted. Like the fact that faith has nothing to do with our government. But anyways, so yeah, I'm looking forward to read this. I have to redeem myself after all. I apparently don't have any reading comprehension when it comes to the previous book. So I'm hoping this will be fun. So let's move on. Hey everyone, this is Future. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm interrupting here because I'm going to go ahead and disrupt this TBR a little bit. This was actually the original plan. I just forgot it when I did the TBR. So the book that I originally put in the TBR here, I'm going to push back because it's kind of the same thematic elements, I guess, of the founders of the James Wesley Rawls. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring this up. Now, this book is going to be a little more like Marked in that it's a fictional book that's not, as far as I know, not pushing any of political agenda towards you like the Founders is obviously going to be. I'm not even going to lie to you guys about that. That's 100% what the Founders is going to be, so fair warning. But this book is actually something I found online. Funny enough, after I ordered it and decided to do it for this, Daniel Green posted his book about it, so it's going to look like I'm trying to ride off that coattail, so yeah, thanks for that, man. But no, it's the reason I found this is because the two most unlikely people ever to be an author wrote this book. And you might be wondering who the two most unlikely people ever to write a book is. And I'm going to go ahead and yeah, it was written by these guys. So I'm not generally one to say no one can be an author, and honestly, I'm going into this with good faith, even if it's part of a Garbaugust TBR. But I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I think the Kardashians is like the most genuine brain rot kind of content on TV at all. I had to watch like 5 minutes of it once when my little sister was in town visiting, and I could literally feel my brain cells dying as I sat there and just watched what was happening on screen. Like, I gotta be honest with you, I don't even remember what happened on the screen. I just know that it was so stupid that I had to go find something else to do. I have temperature right now that is 115 degrees. I would go outside and sit in that temperature for 30 minutes before I ever watched another episode of The Kardashians. It's so, here's a good way to put it. It's so bad, even Keanu Reeves has no positive opinion of The Kardashians. Yeah, he really said that, guys. So, yeah. So, the book that I'm talking about specifically, I probably gave it away with the whole Daniel Green comment, but the book I'm talking about is The Story of Lex and Livia, Rebels, City of Indra, written by Kendall and Kylie Jenner. So, yeah, when I saw that these, and just to be clear, It is the same people. So the chances are they probably had a ghostwriter do this. I don't know for sure, so don't quote me on that. But I'm gonna go ahead and say on the offset, just by the look of the book alone, it doesn't look too terrible. The cover is actually fairly decent for what it is. But what is this book about, you might wonder? Well, let's figure it out. In the world of the far future, the great city of Indra has two faces. A beautiful paradise floating high in the sky, and a nightmare world of poverty carved beneath the surface of the earth. Lex grew up in an orphanage, deep in the dark. But even as a child, she instinctively rebelled against her fate. The time when she would be judged either useful to society or be forced to live among the mutations in rock bottom, the lowest level. When she is chosen to become an elite cadet of the population control forces, only her fellow cat. This one's on me. It's not the book's fault. Don't worry. Only her fellow cadet Kane truly understands her longing for freedom. Unknown to her, one girl secretly shares her defiance. So it's not only her fellow cadet Kane. Livia Cosmos, the orphan heiress spelled with A-R-E-S-S, by the way, which is important for the next part, may live on a sky island surrounded by wealth and privilege, but she is just as restricted as Lex. Yes, she is, because nothing says restriction like all the gold. Rigid discipline governs her every movement as she learns the art of becoming a proper young woman, all capitalized. The belle of the emergence ball, ready to be picked for cohabitation by the finest of the proper young men. Her future is assured, until an intriguing encounter with a young man named Kane changes everything. Okay, so there's a bit of connection there. For that is when Lex and Livia's destinies collide. Approached by an old enemy to help save Kane from mortal danger, Lex sacrifices her special ops career to find him in the islands among the clouds. Her search, high above in the beautiful spires of city of Indra, okay, so it's a little wordy, brings her instead to the air girl Livia. Lex and Livia should have nothing in common, yet they share a kindred yearning to escape from the strict rules that bind them, and a mystifying identical mark. To get brought together by danger, they set out to find Kane, but what they discover is even stranger than either dreams. So if the book itself didn't have a sequel called The Time of Twins, I think the twist in this book is obviously going to be that they're twin sisters that were separated at birth, probably. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and guess on that. But I will say, solely on the premise alone, it doesn't sound terrible, and the cover isn't terrible either. It is something that I think could be really good, and I genuinely hope that maybe Kylie and Kendall Jenner, or the ghostwriter who probably did most of the work, did write a genuinely decent sci-fi work. However, I will say, based on what I've watched of the Kardashians, that is very, very unlikely, which is why it's part of a Garbaugust book review. So, yeah. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and move on. See you guys later. Oh, well, not really see you later. See you in the next book, because, past me is going to be back. But, so, when it comes to the last book, this is where things are going to go wrong. See, I'm going to go wrong. This thing with games is going to get a little more interesting. So, I have a lot of books I could have chosen for this, and I was basically drowning in options of what to choose. Now, I don't know if these books are going to be bad. Actually, a fair amount of them are books I've never actually really heard much about in the landscape. One I actually didn't know existed until I saw it on the shelf, and I'm like, I gotta get that. But, since it got such a positive reception last year, it was actually the most interacted with community post I ever made, I'm going to go ahead and leave the last book of the month up to you guys, which I'm going to read. Out of 4 options, I'm going to go ahead and read them out to you now, and I want you guys to comment down below what option you think would be best. The thing that gets the most comments, or, the one that gets the most comments, or in the case of a tie, the comment that got the most upvotes, that'll be the one I review this year. And if there doesn't seem to be a conclusive thing by the time I start doing the 3rd book, I'll go ahead and put a poll out. Because, obviously, these are bad books, so I need time to read them, analyze them, and write it out. So, without further ado, here will be your options. The first one, again, is the one I was talking about, where I didn't actually know it existed until I walked it by. But do you guys remember that M. Night Shyamalan movie a while back called After Earth? Although I guess calling it an M. Night Shyamalan movie is a little unfair since it's more of a Will Smith movie. It was specifically a movie Will Smith wanted to make because he was trying to force his son Jaden, I think that's his name, trying to force his son Jaden into the movie star fandom, and was trying to use this to give him the big boost, since apparently the remake of The Karate Kid wasn't enough. They made a very bad movie, a very well-mocked movie, called After Earth. Did you know After Earth actually has a prequel novel called After Earth, A Perfect Beast? And this isn't something that just happens to have the same name. It definitely is a prequel. At the top here, hidden just behind the tag, is the official prequel novel for the epic film After Earth. So, I'm interested because I did not know this had any book. I don't know if this came out before or after the movie was actually put out. So, let's see what this is about. After their exodus from Earth, the last humans settle for a remote planet. Oh, actually, okay. So when I first picked this book up, I actually thought that After Earth was based on a book. And I was like, no, this was a book? But no, it is a prequel, so. Anyways, here's what the book is actually about. After their exodus from Earth, the last humans settle a remote planet, Nova Prime. When an alien race known as the Skrull descended from the skies, the United Ranger Corps, an elite defense unit, valiantly resisted. Centuries passed without an attack. Kind of seems like they're terrible attackers, doesn't it? And many colonists believe that, with other security measures in place, the resources devoted to maintaining the military strength would be better spent elsewhere. Little did they know that trouble was coming to Nova Prime, and it had a taste for blood. The latest in a long line of decorated warriors, Connor Rage is one of the Ranger's most promising young cadets. Although his brash confidence and tendency to act on instinct have earned him as many skeptics as admirers, Connor's ancestors were on the front lines of humanity's victory against the Skrull. But when a deadly ground war breaks out, Connor is up against an entirely different beast, because this time, the Skrull have brought a secret weapon, ferocious killing machines designed to eliminate humanity from Nova Prime and the universe. Not just the galaxy, the universe. So, yeah, I'm actually kind of interested to see what this happens. It might actually explain why we were given no information whatsoever in After Earth about the alien race, because they put it all in here. So, yeah. If you want to see me review this, comment below. After Earth, A Perfect Beast. Or maybe, you know what? You can also join the Discord, because if you go to the Discord, I might be able to put a poll there, and you can outvote. Discord link down below in the description. Please join. Okay, you know what? I realize now that's probably going to have the exact opposite effect. So within 7 days of me posting this video, the Discord link will be good, but you know, if you're curious, go ahead and go to my page, and then go to my profile, and there'll be a permanent link in my description. So. Book 3 is an old-time friend. Now, this book isn't necessarily as popular as her other two books that she's famously known for, but I've heard, I mean, when you write the other two books I pointed out, I mean, what else can I expect from you? I'm not expecting it to be great, but I'm hoping it is. Like I said, the host had a lot of potential. And I think if Stephenie Meyer had stopped it 100 pages sooner, or had made certain decisions that she just wasn't eager to make, it would have been a very great book. So, I am hoping for the best that this would be chosen, but I don't have a lot of optimism in that regard. And that would be The Chemist by Stephenie Meyer. Now, this is definitely a book most people don't actually know she wrote. You know about The Host because it got a bad movie adaptation. And everyone knows she wrote Twilight because it's fucking Twilight. That thing ruled the world for like 2 years. But this is a book that I really didn't even know about until I saw someone talking about it on a YouTube channel. And actually, no, I didn't even know it then. That was something else. This is just something I saw in the store and thought, like, well, she wrote another book? So, yeah. Without further ado, here's what this book's about. She used to work for the U.S. government, but very few people ever know that. An expert in her field, she is one of the darkest secrets of an agency so clandestine it doesn't even have a name. And when they decided she was a liability, they came for her without warning. Now she rarely stays in the same place or uses the same name for long. They've killed the only other person she trusted. But something she knows still poses a threat. They want her dead, and soon. They've killed... No. When her former handler offers her a way out, she realizes it's her only chance to erase the giant target on her back. But it means taking one last job for her former ex-employers who want to kill her. To her horror, the information she acquires makes the situation even more dangerous. Resolving to meet the threat head-on, she prepares for the toughest fight of her life, but finds herself falling for a man who can only complicate her likelihood of survival. I hope it's a man and not a 17-year-old child, personally. As she sees her choices being rapidly whittled down, she must apply her unique talents in ways she never dreamed of. And the rest is just a fluff piece about the author herself. So, as we know, Stephanie Meyer has a very bad habit of including very problematic ideas in her work. Namely that she has a real obsession with age gap romances to the point it's a little creepy. Like, The Host was really bad about it, and you mean obviously with vampires it can be forgivable because, supernatural romance. But, yeah, so I'm hoping that book has just a regular romance, but, I'm not going to get my hopes up at all, because I just know there's going to be something about the romance that's going to make it icky. The final book that I could read this month is one that is somewhat infamous, and considering the amount of books I've read in that universe, it only makes sense that I'll eventually make my way to it. I admit that, all of these books that I'm bringing up, even if they don't get chosen, I will eventually make my way to. This is you're more choosing which one I'm going to do first. But, yeah, so I'm pretty sure this is a very infamous work in the franchise that it's in. Everything involving the state of the franchise at the point it was published is kind of infamous, but this would be Star Wars Aftermath by Chuck Wendig. Now, Chuck Wendig is a very infamous author, and I'm not going to begin to go into all the things that makes him very infamous. I will stick entirely to this book for the moment. But let me put it this way. This book includes lines. I've never read this book, and I've never seen anyone review this book. Well, I mean, I have, admittedly. I did watch the Crimson Road review. But I've never... This book includes lines like, herkity-jerkity. And as far as I'm aware, this is not written for kids. In fact, there's actually... this author writes other stuff in the Star Wars EU, mostly children's novels. But I've heard that one of the novels he wrote in the Star Wars universe for kids has like several pages dedicated to someone farting. I don't know if that's true, but sadly, what I've heard about the author, it sounds true. So if I end up having to review this book, I'll end up looking up in the validity of that. Don't be worried. But let's go ahead. What is this book about? The second Death Star has been destroyed, the Emperor killed, and Darth Vader struck down, devastating blows against the Empire, and major victories for the Rebel Alliance. But the battle for freedom is far from over. As the Empire reels from its critical defeats at the Battle of Endor, the Rebel Alliance, now a fledgling New Republic, presses its advantage by hunting down the enemy's scattered forces before they can regroup and retaliate. But above the remote planet Akiva, an ominous shadow of the enemy's strength is unfolding. Out on a lone reconnaissance mission, pilot Wedge Antilles watches Imperial Star Destroyers gather like birds of prey, circling for a kill, but is taken captive before he can report back to New Republic leaders. Meanwhile, on the planet's surface, former rebel fighter Nora Wexley has returned to her native world, war-weary and ready to reunite with her estranged son, and eager to build a new life in some distant place. But when Nora intercepts Wedge Antilles' urgent distress call, she realizes her time as a freedom fighter is not yet over. What she doesn't know is just how close the enemy is, or how decisive and dangerous her new mission will be. Determined to preserve the Empire's power, the surviving Imperial elite are converging on Akiva for a top-secret emergency summit. Okay, we get it. Something top-secret is happening over Akiva. Stop repeating that. Tell me... To consolidate their forces and rally for a counterstrike. But they haven't reckoned on Nora. They haven't reckoned on Nora and her newfound allies. Her technical genius son... Oh, okay, I get it. They haven't reckoned as in... They haven't anticipated. I'm not sure why he didn't just use the word anticipated and not reckoned, but whatever. Her technical genius son, a Zabrak bounty hunter, and a reprobate Imperial defector, who are prepared to do whatever they must do to end the Empire's oppressive reign once and for all. And the back's just about Chuck Wendig some more. So yeah. Those are the 4 books I'm going to be putting up to a vote putting up to a vote now. Comment below, there might be a poll later, and definitely join the Discord to discuss it. That being said, I think this has gone on a little too long for a TBR, so I'm going to go ahead and just end it here. With that being said, just remember, with every book comes an adventure, and every adventure is worth having, even the bad one. See you later.